(1910) Butte, Montana, was bustling with activity, rich and vibrant from the copper mining boom. With over 300 mines and nearly 60,000 people, most of the population consisted of immigrants, 70% foreign-born or children of immigrants. Thousands came to Butte from around the world, not only miners, but all kinds of entrepreneurs, businessmen, and workers to support the mining community. And shoe salesmen, like Ed Schaad. When Ed arrived in Butte in 1910, the city was still, as the young Charlie Chaplin put it after visiting there, rough and tumble. But the town had plenty of culture, with over a dozen theaters, including the Broadway Theater, which contained the highest number of seats west of Chicago. It is not entirely clear why Edward Michael Schaad left all his family in southern Wisconsin and ventured out alone to Butte, Montana. He was 22 or 23 years old. His son Ed recalled that his father had respiratory problems, and people back home believed the air of the West would do him good. Quite ironic, given the terrible pollution and air quality that existed in Butte due to the copper mining industry. Not only that, but the year Ed arrived in Butte, 1910, one of the most devastating forest fires in recorded American history, ravaged western Montana and filled the skies with smoke. The son of Ed later recalls the reason his father went to Butte: lung problems.
He had basic lung problems all his life. That's what he died of. He died of urinary poisoning from kidneys. In fact, he came to Montana originally from Illinois because they thought the fresh air and the mountain climate was better for his lungs. I can remember he never smoked cigarettes, but he had some special cigarettes. But these were medicated cigarettes. And that was the only time he would ever smoke, and this was supposedly something good for his lungs, you know. He didn't smoke other than that. I mean, like I smoke all the time. He did not smoke cigarettes. But this was a medicated thing, and he used to smoke those, I can remember, once in a while.
Whether or not air quality was in fact a reason for Ed to move to Montana, another factor seems clear. Ed was an ambitious young man. And although he wasn't interested in mining, Butte offered opportunity to a variety of professions that supported the growing mining city. Ed left his family in Wisconsin and moved to Butte sometime at the end of 1909 or the beginning of 1910. He was a shoe salesman back home in Wisconsin, but he apparently took the first job he could get, as told by his son Ed Schaad.
When he first came to Butte, this was before he even got married to my mother, the first job he got was a switchman. He went in and somehow he got a job as switchman for the railroad. He gets the job, and I guess they show him how when the train's coming, if it's going this way, you move this switch over. So he gets it part way, and the train went off the damn track. Right off the track, jumped the rails, and they had to get the cranes out and all this. Of course, that was his last day. His first day. That was always kind of a funny thing, and I thought, well, maybe that's where I got my mechanical ability.
It doesn't take Ed long to get a job in his line. He becomes a clerk at the Walkover Shoe Company. Aged 23 by this point, Ed is working at the shoe store and rooming at a kind of hotel boarding house called the Argyle, with at least a dozen other lodgers.
Honey, honey, can't you hear? Funny, funny music here.
We lose track of Ed for about a year and a half, but we catch up again with him in January 1912. By this time, he is 24 years old, with a very active social life, eager to enjoy the comforts of Butte. In the year 1912 alone, for instance, he appears in Butte society columns engaged in multiple social activities: a fancy night out with friends, a Valentine's Day ball, and other dances throughout the year. In January 1912, Ed attended an all-nighter party for a friend, Elmer Zimmerman, who was leaving town. There were 16 in the group, and they spent the evening at a banquet and a show at the Empress Theater, what they called a box party. Charlie Chaplin actually performed live there the year before. And this box party was presumably a dedicated box for the group to watch the performance. Finally, the group took an automobile ride down on what was known as the Flat, down the hill from Butte.
Put your arms around me, honey, hold me tight, cuddle up and...
The next month, in February 1912, Ed attended a Valentine's Day ball at the Women's Clubhouse with the date Miss Anne Strybeck. The event was described in great detail in the Anaconda Standard Society pages. Interest socially last week centered in the leap year ball given on St. Valentine evening in the Women's Clubhouse by a large company of West Side young ladies. And the young men who were fortunate enough to come under the generous attention of the hostesses felt themselves complimented indeed. The entire interior of the clubhouse was lavishly decorated in the suggested mementos and colors of St. Valentine's Day. The dancing hall was a beautiful bower of vines and festoons of red poppies, while hearts, big ones and small ones, dangled from every available place. The parlors were brilliant in the combination of flowers and hearts, and one descended the staircase between railings massed in flowers and vines. On the stage, one of the finest orchestras obtainable played the latest in dance music. Heart-shaped programs contained 20 dances and 4 extras, and the ladies had the choice of partners. The dancing continued until 1 o'clock, and afterward, many little supper parties stole the minutes of the morning hours. Ed Schaad apparently loved dancing. In addition to attending various balls, he helped form a new dancing club in Butte in October 1912 with 7 other young men. The purpose of the Lotus Club was to, quote, give a series of dances for its members during the winter months. The club sponsored about 10 dances a year. Ed served on the governing board in October 1912 and as vice president of the Lotus Club in 1913. On January 22, 1913, Ed attends the We Should Worry dancing party at the Butte Country Club. We should worry, based on the phrase I should worry, was a popular slang phrase in the early 1910s and reflects an optimistic, dismissively careless attitude. It was considered a rather snarky remark, along the lines of today's, yeah, whatever, or I couldn't care less. Presumably this was the spirit of the theme of this dance party, the first of the new year of 1913. People rode in chartered cars to the club and had a buffet luncheon at midnight. Ed Schaad attends another dancing party a month later on Friday night, partly in celebration of Washington's birthday on February 22nd. About 60 young adults attend who arrive at the Butte Country Club by the usual chartered streetcar. The party features over 27 dances and a midnight luncheon. Tango was the most popular dance of the time, recently imported to the U.S. from Argentina.
From my window every morn, I can hear a great big horn.
In 1913, the Lotus Club held a Halloween ball, the first dance to start out its second season. The president of the club led the Grand March, which started the festivity. Pumpkin jack-o'-lanterns hung on trees, and red-cheeked apples dangled on the branches of a tree. The Anaconda Standard reported that orange punch was served during the evening and candies were placed about where all could help themselves. The best of music was furnished. On the program were 15 numbers and 2 extras. Ed Schaad is 25 years old at this time. He will be married within a year and a half, but Ed doesn't appear to have yet made the acquaintance of his future wife, Sylvia Egan. That story will be told in our next video.